Hello everyone, and welcome to the Blessed Music Bubble. Yay! I'm sitting here with my little cup of iced coffee today, and I wanted to sit down and just talk to you about what happened at my very first recital. So I did do a recital last month, and there was three people in the audience, and I did post that to the Patreon community. You know, I was really nervous. I felt very excited, and it's definitely not a perfect performance, and anyway, I'm proud of it. It was a wonderful first step, and a month later I did my first actual performance in front of an audience of 7 or 8. But you know what, that was a really big deal for me. This whole year has been a year of transformation and growth that I just am so grateful for and like amazed by the change in me this last year. So let's sit down together, we'll have a little chat, and I just want to talk to us about all sorts of things. I want to give you some feedback on the recital and performing, and I also want to just talk to you about, also I had some students who were there, and we did a little group class. We did some fun little things. I wanted to tell you basically about the weekend, and then I just wanted to talk about basically some tips on performing. As somebody who's getting back into the swing of performing, some tips on performing and like perspective, you know, and just whatever else kind of like comes to mind. So this might be a long video, it might be a short video, I don't really know, but let's have a little sip of coffee or some tea or whatever it is. And so you might be able to see behind me, I have a whole bunch of little sticky notes up here. And these sticky notes are my little gold stars of things that I have achieved in the last few months. And it's taken the entire year since January 2022. In January, some of you already know from things that I've talked about before, but in January, I was inspired to do a recital, to finally get out of my comfort zone and for me to actually perform. And this desire was sparked by my beautiful studio's Christmas and Hanukkah and holiday recital in December at the end of 2021. The joy that performance gave me was absolutely magical, and it kind of like blew away some psychological cobwebs that I had in my mind that were holding me back from me actually performing. And I had talked about it on several videos, maybe like one of the Get Things Done Together live streams, but I haven't performed for 7 years, and I basically stopped performing, and I played a little bit, but really didn't play very much since I graduated in 2015 with my master's degree in viola performance. So maybe this will be a long video. I'm gonna set the stage for you a little bit, so it's kind of all in one concise place. But as musicians, I think I'm not alone in feeling this way. But when I graduated from my master's degree, I was very lost and confused and burned out. And I had kind of lost my love of music in a big way. And I had kind of lost who I was. I was lost and confused in many, many ways. But actually, through being lost and confused and like in the dark and like not knowing where you're going, you start to find your way. And the more that you start to find your way in the darkness, the more you start to kind of get somewhere. And you, by the end of your continual walking in the direction of somewhere that is in your mind better than where you are currently psychologically, perhaps, you actually end up in a completely different place. So at least it's a different place. It could be a worse place, but it's probably going to be a better place if you're actually trying to grow and you're trying to become better. So I'm not saying that I am actually, I'm like the best now. No, it's just like a little, this is just a big baby step on the path towards just almost getting over my own psychological insecurities and doubts and fears, right? And a long time ago, someone told me that music, the study of music for me would be a spiritual practice, that it, for some, I think it's probably a spiritual practice for many of us, even if we're not religious or very spiritual, but it takes so much of our spirit to play music and to play this instrument and to like really hone a very, very technically challenging and precise skill. Combine that with your spirit and heart and passion and love of what it is that you do. It just takes all of you. So it's a spiritual practice in that way, because it takes your spirit to do what it is that you're doing. So at the end of my master's degree, I was very burned out. I was very, very lost. And I actually stopped listening to music for at least a year, possibly 2 years, possibly 3 years. For me, music at that time was me listening or watching somebody just show off on stage at how technically proficient they were and how flashy and everything they were. It had absolutely nothing to do with music. It was like a weird, like just a weird contortion of music. And I just didn't want to listen to it. I didn't want to listen to people show off and, oh, look how much better than they are than I am in my mind. So I just didn't listen to anything. I would listen to podcasts or I would listen to audiobooks or whatever, but I just really could not listen to any music. Not even like in my mind, like just frivolous pop music or just like silly like music. I couldn't really listen to anything at all. And so I went through a very odd time, because as a musician and as somebody who graduated with a degree in an instrument in classical music, I then just, played open strings for a period of time, would play scales, would play little hand patterns. Going into the study of medieval and ancient music really was a beautiful healing process for me, because that music is very simple. At least the music that I was playing was very simple and very beautiful and very fulfilling to my soul to play. I eventually picked up the harp, and I was just kind of dabbling and exploring and playing with music again. It was almost like the notes of music just kind of like, I started to like connect with just the notes of music, like they were individual little beings of energy or color or whatever it was. And I just felt like I was led by the beauty of the notes and getting to know the notes and getting to know the harp and just learning about music in a very, very different way than I had ever really approached it. Because for me, on my viola and on my violin, there was a time maybe when I did feel like, oh, I'm playing music, I'm playing notes, and I love music and everything. But at some point it became, okay, place your finger here, and this is out of tune, and you need to do this, and you're kind of failing at it. It's really just not good enough. Like, it's just like, you just can't play in tune, and also you're always dragging, and you can't do this bowing, and you can't do this. So it just became this like thing of me not really being able to I was not good enough to play my instrument very well in my mind. And so studying and learning about music in a very different way and following what the music, the ancient and medieval music was kind of guiding me and teaching me about music in a very different way, is basically what I'm saying. So, of course, teaching music and learning about music as I was teaching music, because I felt almost like, of course, I was teaching music and the other person was learning about music and I was learning about music, and we were both learning about music, being guided by the study of harmony and the beauty of music. And that day after day, hour after hour with my studio was so healing for me. And just going back to very basic things. And over that period of 7 years, my soul and heart and mind were just somehow kind of like, my perspective deeply changed when it came to music. I understood that there's a component of music that has to be very technical, and you have to be thinking about it. You have to get the technical stuff down so that you can then express what it is. And it's just really hard, and we can get so focused on the technical stuff that we actually forget that there's this other really important component when it comes to playing music. And so I like totally forgot that there was this amazing other soul spiritual part of music. Like when you listen to your favorite player, you're like, oh, they have spirit, or I love their interpretation, whatever it is. I love the way that they phrase that. I love their sound. I just love the way that they play, right? And so I just completely forgot about that. And so over this period of time, I kind of have relearned that there's those components, right? So anyway, fast forward, and there's probably more things that I could say about that, but fast forward to my studio's recital at the end of 2021. That just was such a powerful event for me, especially after the pandemic and being being like with my students virtually on the computer through Zoom, and just the joy of the connection and the study of music was always there. That was never lost, and music has connected me with many, many beautiful souls over the years. And over this time period, especially in the pandemic, so many people actually found that they had time to actually do something interesting, so they learned a new skill, and kept busy with the study and the joy of music over that weird and uncertain time. And that was really powerful. But to actually do a concert in person with my studio, and to have people come from outside of the area that I teach, and I'm based in Pennsylvania. I have students all over the US that I would love for everyone to, fly out here and we do a recital together. That's, one thing I'd love to do one day. But anyway, it was just really, really powerful for me. And it wasn't about playing perfectly. It was just about playing music and having fun, and just having a great time. It was an expression of all of the time and energy and effort that people had put in over that time period, over that pandemic time period, and then the beautiful result that came from that, and the love and the connection that came with that, and the joy of the audience. And we were all like, I bought some fun like little garlands and like elf hats and just fun things, and like threw them all over everybody. And we were all like playing our holiday songs and our medieval music and all these. It was just so magical. So that helped me to actually decide that perhaps it's time for me to actually experience that and get back into playing my own instrument and playing my classical repertoire. And maybe I could put together a recital sometime during 2022 this year. So that was my thought, and it was like a little tiny pinprick of light and hope that like appeared in my heart and my mind, that was like, you could actually you could actually do that too. And it was just really special because I didn't know if I ever would play again. I didn't ever know if I would ever do a recital or be able to prepare something like this that I've done. I didn't ever know if I would ever do that again. And it just, it's been really special. It's just been really, really special to overcome that. And none of my performances have been perfect by any means. None of them have ever, really, they're all continually works in progress. It's like I'm not a fabulous musician. I'm not, but I can play my instrument. And I've been toiling away for the last 9 months to prepare this recital program. And I actually, put together a program, and it's like a great program as well. I'm so proud of it. I played Bach's Cello Suite 3, the Bruck Romance for viola and piano, the Henry Vieuxtemps Capriccio for solo viola, the Ernest Bloch Suite Hebraic for viola and piano, and then a little Irish tune, The Last Rose of Summer. And this is a awesome, for me, it's just an awesome recital program. It took a lot of energy and effort, and I started to study with my teacher again, who I love, Xiao, who was my teacher from the time that I was 18 all the way until I was 23. And then I went away to another school, and I started to study with her again. I think it might have been, it would have been in the beginning of 2022. No, it would have been in the middle of 2021. So before my studio's holiday recital, a couple months before that probably, because I was in an odd place for me personally as a violist during the pandemic. I was sitting here and looking at my computer, which normally sits here, and teaching my studio virtually. And I wasn't playing because I usually would play along with my students. I was sitting here. I gained 20 pounds, 25 pounds, didn't play my instrument at all. I basically didn't play my viola for about a year during the 2020. 2021, I started to pick it up again, and that's when I decided, I should start to study with my teacher again. And my dad has been always an amazing supporter of what I do. I couldn't have done any of the things that I've done without my dad's support. And so he's been my helper, my supporter and helper to help me get back in the swing of things. And so I've been studying with my teacher 2 times a month, and it's been amazing. I've recorded all my videos with her on Zoom because we study on Zoom. She lives in California and I live in Pennsylvania. And my first few lessons with her, I just was doing open strings. I was doing some Schradiak. I was not really doing anything very interesting, and my playing was very da 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 da. It was just very boxy, and still didn't have the playing from the heart feel at all. I guess I was trying to figure out how to put that together. But after my recital, like I keep talking about with my studio, at the end of 2021, that was an important, momentous moment for me. And after that, my musical studies became much more centered around the joy of playing and how beautiful the music is. It was more about trying to understand the character and the mood and what the vibe is of the piece, rather than me just trying to like play the fingering and get the bow and like do the dynamics and just do what's on the page like a robot. It became more about how can I play this in the character of the piece that the piece requires. And I had to play more from my heart. And my classes that I've been taking with Robert Hickman every Saturday for the last 2 years, he teaches the psychic development class. And whatever you think what you want to think, but just like we all, my teacher Bob says, we all have the ability to play music. Like anybody can just like play some notes and we can, you can play music, but some people are much more gifted with music than others perhaps. And also some people spend much more time and effort and practice and energy with the instrument, which gets them to a different place, right? And so it's the same thing with our psychic abilities. We have many abilities that we just don't use on a day-to-day life because our life doesn't require that we lean on those abilities that we might be latent within us. They might not be super active abilities because we just don't use them, right? So we just don't know that we have them, but we actually do have many psychic abilities, for lack of a better word. And it's been really awesome to work with him every Saturday in the class, which I play the harp for before the class. I'll link his website below if you're curious, because it is a really wonderful class. It's been awesome to every Saturday show up to that group and learn something and try to like tap into different facets of our magical selves, But anyway, in many of the classes, he will revisit the idea of the chakras. And with my teacher, we were talking about playing from the heart, and it like in my mind and in my thoughts, everything, it like linked, music and the heart chakra and playing from the heart. It kind of like connected that there's my mind, right? And then there's the heart, and there's all the other energy centers in the body. And I could actually use those when I play music. And I remember this one practice that I had. I decided that I would play my viola like I play the harp. And when I play the harp, I'm sitting down and I'm just playing the feeling that I want to feel. I am enjoying the beauty of the sound. I'm enjoying the beautiful harmonies of the melody and the music and the being guided, to do the improvisation. It's just like a very different way. I play the harp much more from here because I don't know how to play the harp, so I'm not really like thinking too much about it. Technically, it's more like this is what I would like to create, and that's what I'm creating, versus I'm going to use this finger and this finger and this finger and this, like, it's just a little bit different approach. So I, in my practice, decided that I was going to play my viola like I play the harp. And it was so wild. It was just so wild because the expression that came out of my instrument and was flowing through me into my instrument was so much different than I'd had ever played. And I was like in this, I don't even know how to describe it, but it was like this incredible flow of energy was just like going through me. And it was all like coming right out of my heart into the instrument. And from that moment, my playing changed, and I am able to kind of switch more between, okay, I'm going to think about what it is that I'm doing, and I'm going to feel what I'm doing. And it's so much more genuine and it's so much easier because it's not like I'm going to mentally try to like play this in a mournful way. Like, I'm gonna think about what is it to be mournful. It's like, this is how it feels to be mournful, and this is the way that it's going to come out. It just kind of naturally comes out versus like all the things. And anyway, it was a very interesting experience. And I think that's one of the reasons why in my recital I am able to actually close my eyes when I play, because I have never been able to close my eyes when I play. But I've noticed since that moment with the connecting with the heart chakra, basically, which actually was only a few months ago. Like, I think it might have been no more than 6 months ago. So it's September right now. So March or something, maybe that's when this kind of happened, March or April. So it's only really been a recent thing that I feel like this expression and love and spirit has come out of my playing. And anyway, I forgot what I was kind of talking about. Hold on a second. Let me grab a sip of coffee. Oh, playing with my eyes closed. So now I have to play with my eyes closed. I really struggle to play if I'm looking and reading the music, and I wasn't able to memorize everything for my recital. I had some memory slips actually, but I still had to play with my eyes closed, on the things I had memorized. I don't know if there's like some kind of correlation between them, but anyway, little side note there. So going back to my little gold stars up there on the mirror, the very first one at the top is actually playing for you guys. It was in August. So August 4th, I did a live stream, and it was like a Get Things Done With Me live stream. And I said, I'm really nervous to do this, but it's something that I've always wanted to do. And it was just to do a little practice session together and to do a little potentially practice performance. I think maybe 8/4 I did the practice performance. There's one of my live streams where it's like a practice performance, and there's a couple before that which were just like Get Things Done With Me, which were kind of like the little baby steps to the precursor of me doing a practice performance for you. And the thing that I was mostly concerned about with those, let's say with the live stream practice recital, was not necessarily playing perfectly in tune and playing, all the most technically proficient. I was worried about having memory slips, but I was mostly wanting the experience to be a really positive experience for me. I needed to have an example of a positive experience of me performing, because I've had so many in, my master's program, for example, of just really bad experiences performing. And because I had those, I just associated performing with anxiety, and it's going to, just reinforce the fact that I am not good enough and I sound horrible and all of this kind of thing. So when I did the live stream with you guys, I really just needed an experience of positive performance. And I don't want to forget that my virtual studio circles every month, which we have on Patreon, and they're a part of the studio. They're just a monthly community get together on Zoom, where we just hold some positive space for people to just practice performing amidst, having a little chat about this or that, with a cup of tea or something stronger. So I had been doing those virtual studio circles for maybe 2 years. I can't remember if it's 2 or 3 years, maybe it's 2 years. And the first year, it was just, nerve-wracking for me to just do that for a group of people on Zoom, or just doing group work, because that's something that I had never really done. I had done individual work, but I had never done like group work. And so that was just scary. It was just scary for me to do that. And so the first year of me doing virtual studio circles was me actually trying to become comfortable teaching a group. And I did become comfortable teaching a group, but I had to allow myself to just grow and to feel uncomfortable. I couldn't actually perform on top of just feeling not like quite settled and like comfortable and used to doing the group class. For whatever reason, it just like always just took me a while to just, for me personally, to just feel at ease. And like, it's just a thing I do, you know, like I just teach music lessons. It's just something I do. I don't feel really nervous about it. I feel excited about it, but I don't really feel like, oh my gosh, like I don't know what I'm doing and blah, 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 you know, just like jittery. So it took me a while to just kind of get over that. So the second year of the virtual studio circles, I actually started to play something every month for the studio. And I was nervous. I definitely was nervous. I didn't play very well. My bow would shake. I was, you know, nervous. But through the positive space that our little virtual studio circle provides, it just helped me to grow, because the nice thing is that it doesn't really matter in the virtual studio circle if you play really well or you play really bad and you totally bomb. It's the fact that you just do it. It's the getting used to doing it that's so important and valuable, to have the opportunity to just do it and either fly or crash and burn. It's fine, because you're going to learn something either way, and you have people that after your performance will do this and tell you some good things that they noticed about it. They'll give you a little pat on the shoulder, even if you bomb, and say, you know, I just really enjoyed watching you play. Or I think, you know, it's just a really nice experience. It's a good group that we have, and we can all laugh and joke and have a good time. So that was a very important baby step for me before I even played for you guys on YouTube, is basically what I'm saying. So then that was a major baby step for me. Then the second big baby step for me was my little practice recital that I did a month later. So in September, I, you know, rented the church. I had been working with a pianist, and I got dressed up. I have my practice recital on the Patreon community, and it's kind of messy, and it's like, you know, I'm like anxious, but I had a great time. My main priority out of the practice recital was for me to have a good experience. Once again, I needed to have a good experience doing the performing, and I wanted to play well, of course. So I was very, very well prepared. It wasn't perfect. I had memory slips, whatnot. But I was happy with the way that I felt in the experience, that it was a good experience. So then another month later, this month in September, I actually did my recital. There was a small group of people, which I was grateful for, because I feel like if there was a lot of people there, I would have been, I just don't know if I would have been able to handle it. It's like weird in my mind. It's like, I'm fine to have a group of 10, but if there's like, you know, 20 or 30 or 50, I'm intimidated. If there's like 5,000, I'm fine. I don't know. I feel like in my mind, it doesn't make any sense. So yeah, so now my pianist that I have, who is a wonderful pianist, she invited me to play for something at the Academy of Music in Philadelphia later on this month. And me in the past would have been like, oh my gosh, no, I can't, I couldn't possibly play at some event. I can't do that. Nope, I'm scared, I can't do it. And I have that feeling? Yes, I did have that feeling. But she said I wouldn't have to pay for anything. I would just, you know, get up on stage and play something, then be in and out. And I just thought, this is such a great experience to be able to play at the Academy of Music, to be invited. I should just play it. I should just play a little Bach or something. And I need to have another experience of being out of my comfort zone, because the thing is that I controlled the environment for my recitals to an extent, right? I knew the place. I knew what it would feel like. I, to an extent, knew who would be there in the crowd. But this thing at the end of September, I don't know the Academy of Music. It's a important place, the Academy of Music. So the intimidation factor. I don't know if it's going to be a large audience. I also know that it's mostly geared for people that are in, or students that are in high school perhaps, or, you know, younger, that are just doing things for their resume. And I don't really know exactly, but I know that it's going to be a younger crowd. And of course, many of the younger performers are going to play very, very well. And I'm 32 and I'm probably going to be nervous and probably won't play as well as you know, those younger performers will, but I'm going to just do it anyway. I am going to be very, very prepared, and I'll just play my best. I'll play from my heart. I will just do my thing, and it'll be an experience for me, another experience, which I need to have. I need to have a lot of experience. I really like stand-up comedians, and I like hearing the stand-up comedians talk about the fact that they're honing their material. And there's a lot of times when a comedian is on stage and they might do really well the first, you know, performance, or the first show, there we go, the first show they might do really well, and then the second show they might totally bomb, or vice versa, or from day to day. Like, it can just kind of change as they hone their craft. Because with stand-up comedy, there's like a interaction with the audience. You know, the audience will tell you if it's funny or not. So if it's not funny and they're not laughing, then the comedian knows, okay, that's not funny. And also they get to experience the uncomfortableness of bombing, perhaps, potentially. So, but I just really value, it's been helpful for me to hear that before they would record a special, for example, they're going to be going out into the comedy spaces or stand-up comedy clubs and working their act, refining it, and that it's not supposed to be perfect, that it's okay for it to not be perfect, you know, as you hone what it is that you're doing. And so that mentality for me, as you know, has really been helpful and given me a lot of perspective, that I'm kind of going out and I'm honing what it is that I'm doing. And the very first recital is not gonna be perfect. The very second recital is not gonna be perfect. You know, me doing recitals, you know, maybe by the 10th recital, it'll be good. So I won't have as many memory slips, or I'll play it better than I, you know, have on the previous ones, you know. So it's been nice to have that perspective. So anyway, that's going to be a thing that I do. And then the other major event is in October, playing for the University of Arizona, which is my graduate school, talking to the viola studio there, and doing a recital there. I just mailed out my music to my pianist today. So that will be very intimidating for me. It'll, be a wonderful experience. And I know that it will go, you know, it'll go great because I'm going to be very, very well prepared going in. But it's so nice to have these like little goals up here, and they're pretty big things for me personally to do, because like I said, like this kind of regimen of performing has not ever really been on my agenda. I've done performances. I've performed all over the place with orchestras and things, but like just like solo recital things, this is really special. And so the very last thing that I would like to achieve, hopefully I can do one of these by the end of the year, it's just to get a professional recording of a couple of my pieces, and then do a music video, because I don't have any music videos. I have some from like 2013 of me just playing like in a recording studio, but I'd really love to just go outside and play under a tree or have an interesting scene while I play my Bach or play one of the pieces that I'm working on. I'd like to do that. That would be so awesome. So anyway, I guess it's just been to recap everything, it's been an incredibly positive year of growth and change for myself. And I just hope that this, hearing a little bit of what it is that I'm going through, can encourage you to just conquer your fear as well. I was telling one of my students over email, because they came to my recital, and I just said, thank you so much. And he said, I don't understand why you have the performance anxiety issues. And it's just, I've just always been a little bit doubtful of myself. I've always, I guess, wanted everything to be very, very, very good. I have like a super high standard for myself, I suppose. And it's really hard to live up to that, and nobody is perfect, that's for sure. But I think the thing is it keeps you very humble. Like music will keep you very humble because it's really hard. It's really hard, and you just like keep climbing up the mountain and falling and climbing and falling and climbing, and it's a lifelong journey, and it's so beautiful and magical, and it really will capture your soul to play music. You will never be the same person again after studying music. It's so crazy to me that people go throughout their lives without ever playing an instrument, without ever playing music. I just don't even know. I can't imagine a life without music for me personally. And whenever I hear people talking about, like on podcasts or whatever, like, you know, people just need a hobby, and they're talking about like just doing cooking or crocheting or athlete, like jujitsu, or becoming an athlete. I mean, becoming an athlete, I think, is actually in many, many ways akin to becoming a musician, or a very, you know, because it requires your discipline, your physical body. It requires your mind and your heart and your spirit, and it requires you to grow and to do the thing that you might not want to do in that moment. You're going to still do it anyway. It requires you to perform and potentially work with others and to compete and to get over some of those fears that you might have. Like, I can't even imagine doing jujitsu, for example. Like, that is terrifying to me. But anyway, so it's just, music is an amazing skill to learn at any age. And I think that I just am so grateful that people still study music, because sometimes I worry, like, are we going to be living in a world where nobody appreciates classical music? Like, we just don't understand. We can't listen to classical music and understand how beautiful it is and how, like, deep it is. It's like when we read great literature today, sometimes the language is too arcane for us to really understand. And so we don't have the capacity unless you're like really highly educated potentially, to understand some of the greatest minds that have ever lived, that have actually written down their thoughts. And we don't have the capacity to understand that because we have never potentially been exposed to it, never read it, and don't have the context to understand what it is that they're talking about. And so we have to kind of like fumble through life and figure it out for ourselves. So of course we would do that anyway, but it's just, I just sometimes worry that, you know, what if there was no more symphonies? Like, what if there was no more orchestras? What if there's no more string quartets? Or what if nobody knows what the violin is or a viola is, or nobody's heard of Bach or Beethoven, or, you know, like just those household names that people at one point used to just know, you know, like anybody would have heard something by Bach or Beethoven or Mozart, or those big names that somehow are still clinging to our society. Our society is still clinging to them, perhaps. But anyway, I guess I'm just kind of babbling on, but this last weekend was really special, and it was fun to have my studio, a couple of my studio there at the recital, and then doing a little group class together, getting lunch, doing some lessons. It was just really, really, really special. So anyway, I think I will wrap that up for now. I can't really think of anything else to add, and it's time for me to practice before my lessons today. So I just really appreciate if you got to the end and you were listening to this. Thank you for listening. And if you're interested in any of the things that we do as a studio, my website is violinviolamasterclass.com. And Violin Viola Masterclass is the same for Instagram, for Patreon, for my website, for YouTube, of course. It's all Violin Viola Masterclass. If you are curious at any of the things and you'd like to study music and you'd like to join a little community of beautiful souls who are also learning music. So anyway, I'll see you all very soon.